George Bush and going out and attack other beings, thinking you will accomplish something here. That the arbitrary assault of individuals is not going to work at this particular point. So I can be wrong, but I'm not prompted by anyone telling me to go on out and tell you this. So, but you could be misled by other individuals who would suggest that the timing for armed revolt is now or soon, and they may be very well meaning, and they themselves may be misled. So use discrimination on all of this and examine your local conditions. So here's the situation. In our thinking here, because it is the nature of our work to do forecasting, and because of the conjunction of our work and the remote viewing work done by the farsight.org guys and by the validation studies that I've done, as well as a number of others that are popping up now, it appears that a very large group of Earth changes will beset us in the year 2013. Well, we're in that year now, guys, and we have very few months to wait. So all I am urging is a twofold plan of waiting. I'm not saying just go and become a couch potato. I'm saying train yourself daily. As Kimura would have it, train yourself daily that the art may be there when you need it. And I'm an old fart, but I train myself physically an hour every day, and I train myself mentally an hour every day for the upcoming challenges that we face. And it does me good daily simply by, energizing, etc. But it also will do me really good in these next few months. And so I urge everybody to educate themselves and get very skilled in all different kinds of arts. The acquisition of food through gathering, foraging. Do not rely on hunting. A lot of the game out there, the hunting targets are tainted by the chemtrails and are not healthy to eat. They have the wasting disease and all of these other things in any event. Plus, once the earth changes begin and the shit hits the fan, you can expect that anybody with a gun, once the just-in-time food supply train stops here in these United States, which will be 3 days. There's only 3 days in most of the stores. It's actually less than that. Having in-laws who work in the distribution side of the food business, I know that it's actually 1.5 days of the staples in most of the stores in our area anyway. So 1.5 days later, people will have to begin thinking about hunting and so forth. Once hunting starts, regardless of the time of the year, the game will disappear very rapidly. So learn to forage. There's all kinds of edible plants that will do you good stead and actually make you healthier as you go along. You may grumble and your belly may not like it, but it is stuff that you can eat. So learn those. It's easily available on the internet. My approach, by the way, is to use the internet voraciously while it exists, because I'm of the opinion that by June 1, in the area that I'm in anyway, which is the Pacific Northwest of North America, there will not be enough electricity to run the internet even if it is available. There is going to be earthquakes and other disruptions here that will cause our communication systems to be basically gone and dysfunctional. So I'm using these resources now while I have them, because sometime between now and June 1 these events begin to occur. This is why I'm basically saying anybody who has a mind to avenge Aaron Schwartz or any of the other people who've been recently killed in the dirty war that's now erupted in these United States, as the United States is against the populace and is starting to kill us one by one by one. I'm saying there's going to be people that will die between now and June 1 from the dirty war. They will disappear. They will be tortured. They will be killed. I even may be in that category. There's no way of telling in this. But between now and June 1, there will also be a number of very large Earth changes events that will essentially remove government from our understanding from the picture for some period of time. How long that period of time is, I cannot say, but we have reason to think that it will be at least 6 months. So we're faced with a situation where why waste your energy fighting an enemy now that the universe is going to come along and slap us both down, and they will be in a weakened position, because here's the true situation. We are in an info war now. It is not an issue of being able to shoot someone. You don't want to shoot somebody. Actually, we want to be like... we want to be very smart, like, what's his name? I can't think of the moment, but this particular Japanese samurai always used to say to his enemies, send me your assassins that I may convert them and send them back to you. And that's what he would do. He was famed for being basically a straight-up guy, and even the nasty ninjas liked him. So anyway, though, I have no problem with law enforcement or even any individual who's exhibiting fascist behavior at these traffic stops, and all the murders. I really do not even have a problem with the individuals who are doing the murders themselves, because very few of them are actually evil. Many of them are simply too deluded to understand their role in things and are acting as an untrained dog, or as a trained dog who's unaware of of themselves, external to their master's commands. And these individuals can be made to be aware. We may not have the time, and that's another issue in all of these other considerations, but there's no point in attempting to harm these individuals as a preemptive act. If someone attacks me, I must defend myself as a rational adult. As a human being in a violent universe, it's absurd for me to stand there and not defend myself with every tool available. And I would certainly urge anybody who's being assaulted in any way to defend themselves in any way that they think appropriate. But at the moment, I'm also urging those who would defend the larger abstraction of their community that perhaps now would be something of the time that we should endure, that we should struggle to persevere in our own personal growth and the growth of those individuals around us for another few months, training ourselves, hardening ourselves against the upcoming challenges that will present themselves to both ourselves and our enemies. And in this sense, I declare myself as simply a human being living on planet Earth. And I have no problem with anybody of any nationality or race or religion or basically even species that does not declare themselves to be my enemy. That as long as there is a mutual respect for our individual energies and our own role self-determine our own futures, I have no issue with any individual. It is where we get into these basic rat bastard, Zionist, bankster, Illuminati, Vatican Catholic, religious fundamentalist, of all stripes, Islamic, Judaic, doesn't matter. Anybody who wishes to impose their idea of order, God, or thinking on myself and attempts to come on up and do that is making themselves my enemy at that minute. But many of these individuals will be doing so because of the brainwashing and mind control that has afflicted them. And if possible, it is much better for me to break that mind control rather than break that individual. But at this point, what I'm saying basically is I understand contention is built into the cake here, that our particular structure, faced with the energies from the sun and the external energies that are the unknown energies that are causing this awakening throughout the planet, throughout the planetary population, is moving us to a crescendo, to a threshold. If we had the power, if we have to think about it in an energetic form, if you did it mathematically, you would look at it as there are X number of powers that be guys, a small number, just pick a number, say 10,000, it doesn't matter, very small number. And they have, say, several million minions who work with them and are committed minions. But beyond that, that next layer ain't so committed. Those are the people, the law enforcement guys, the military, and so on, not the generals and not the rabidly religious, fanatic, rabbinical, Talmudic, or other ilk councils that are bound and determined to push an abstraction. This second layer of minions, they're the law enforcement and everybody else. They're going to go and when there's crises, they're going to feet are going to beat it to the road, and they're going to head back to their families. And they're going to, many of them will say to hell with anybody that attempts to stop them, because they will react as a human should. They'll break through a lot of their conditioning and say, I'm about to die. I want to be with those that I love, not these individuals that I hate that I've been working with all these years, that I know so well that I'm disgusted just putting on their fucking uniform and showing up at their shop. And so they will leave, and so everything's going to collapse that way when these earth changes occur. And so if you attempt to shoot one of these secondary minions now and have an armed revolt against them, you're not doing yourself any good, and you're certainly not doing them any good. If you give them a chance, they're going to respond as a human and go back to their family. Now here's what will happen after that. We have an issue right at the moment where maybe 10% of the populace is awake in some form or fashion or struggling in it. And when these earth changes occur, all of the other sheeple, all the couch potatoes rocked off their couches, thrown through their window, picked up by the winds, moved 30 miles, had their clothes ripped off, standing in their underwear in a pile of mud with hundreds or thousands of other individuals around them, cold, shivering, not knowing what to do in the middle of summer or in late spring, horrific winds around them, the earth heaving all around, buildings breaking, bridges collapsing, electrical arcs from the system as it breaks down, all our communications going, cell phones don't work, cars won't start. Even if they did, you couldn't drive 20 feet because the road's gone, and the roads are all twisted up, buildings are off their foundation, natural gas lines are blowing up, and all of this kind of crap is happening. And you're standing there as a sheeple, as a former couch potato, watching whatever sports game or playing with whatever death simulating video game they've given you for this week, sucking down all of those nasty chemicals in the form of the sweet drinks and the fizzy drinks and all of that shit. And you've been blown 30 miles away from where you were. You're not even going to recognize the environment you're in. And what are you going to do? First thing you're going to do is cry mama, usually, and start wailing and bemoaning your fate, because this is a huge curse to you as a sheeple. You just don't get it. And so at that point, after these earth changes have really initiated themselves, and we're into this global coastal event, however it's going to strike wherever you are, because it'll be different in different places. And in some places you'll just be washed over by a wave and drowned. In other places you'll get a huge ton of rain that you just will not be able to believe, and you'll think it's the 40 days and 40 nights of rain that's going to cause a global flood. It's not quite that bad, but you'll believe that at the time because it just doesn't let up, and every single minute of every single day for perhaps 2 or 3 days brings rain at the level of an annual amount of rain in your area arriving every hour. And floods and the topsoil washing away, and trees falling over, and the winds and the electrical disturbances and strange things occurring in the sky. And we're all basically going to just be scared shitless. And at that point, when this thing slightly calms down a bit, and we look around, and all these sheeple are standing around wailing for their mamas, well, mama in the form of government ain't going to be there, because these people are going to have gone into their hidey holes days in advance of this, if not a week or two. Now, there are going to be some precursors that'll let them know. I'm quite sure of that. I mean, the Vatican does not invest that kind of money in an observatory, and several observatories around the planet, looking for specific precursors without getting their money's worth. They and the Zionists know precisely what they've invested their dollars in, and that's what they're trying to buy as this little bit of a heads up. And when this all occurs, and all the sheep are standing there in the mud, covered in dirt and the wind and rocks and everything falling around them, and who knows what's going on, volcanoes in your area, literally the buildings exploding and bridges tumbling and stuff, and they cry out for mama and government doesn't come, who is going to be there? Basically, who are you going to call? Well, the only people who will be able to respond are those people who are now in that awakening process, that are educating themselves, that have trained themselves, that have hardened their bodies, that know how to subsist on a lesser level of a diet and how to feed others off of that diet as well, how to teach others how to forage, how to organize and instruct others that are in a chaotic frame of mind to organize themselves, how to set up triage clinics to do first aid, how to look around and find things like naturally occurring antibiotics. By the way, any mucilaginous lichen is very likely both antifungal and antibacterial when steeped in cold water that has been boiled, and it wouldn't be able to be drunk effectively, but it can be used as a slight base in soups for intestinal problems occasionally if you know which lichens to get. So these kind of things are very appropriate after the fact. You'll find all kinds of resources all around you. If you're in an urban environment, obviously you ain't going to be looking for lichens, but you can find them actually on many brick surfaces on the north to northeast facing sides of the walls, again, if you know what you're looking for. But of course, in that case, I'd be looking for a pharmacy, and I'd be looking for, some of the amoxicillin, penicillin, or whatever, because I would have educated myself on that side of things as well on the internet while it was available. So depending on the environment you're likely to be blown into, those are the kind of skills you need to be learning in terms